And welcome to WakeGOV TV. I'm Eric Curry. We have a number of stories lined up for you today. The Wake County Board of Commissioners recently received some very good news about their bond rating. We'll have that story. Plus, we'll share with you why Wake County is now considered a Purple Heart County. But first, it's no surprise to many of you that Wake County is one of the best places to live, work, and play. And now we have reached an enviable milestone to back that claim. Recently, Wake County's population reached the 1 million mark. Wake County gains an average of 40 new residents each day due to net migration. In addition to net migration, the county's population has a net natural increase of 22 residents per day due to births. Joining us to explain how we reached that milestone is Sharon Peterson, Long Range Planning Administrator with Wake County Community Services, and Rebecca Tippett, Director of Carolina Demography, Carolina Population Center at UNC Chapel Hill. Thank you so much for being here. So Sharon, how long have you and your team been thinking about reaching the million mark, and how long did it take you to figure out exactly when the county would hit this enviable milestone?
Actually, we first started in 2011 after the 2010 census counts were released by the Census Bureau, and we were at about 900,993 residents. But this summer, we started looking at the most recent release from the Census Bureau, which is a July 2013 estimate of about 975,000. And that we were then realized that we were at the point where we could reach perhaps a million in 2014 instead of the projected 2015. And I have a clip with me, actually, that illustrates how we actually calculate it.
Okay, let's go to that video.
Wake County will reach 1 million in population in 2014. Here's how we calculated that number. We first must determine average growth per day. We start off with 974,289, the population estimate as of July 1st, 2013. We subtract 901,018, the estimate base as of April 1st, 2010. We divide by the elapsed number of days, which is 1,187. This equals Wake County growing at 61.73 people per day, or around 62 people per day. We then determine the date of the millionth resident. We take a million and subtract 974,289, which was the population estimate as of July 1st, 2013. We divide by 61.73, the number of people growing per day, which equals 416 days after July 1st, 2013, or Wake County growing into 1 million people during the week of August 18th, 2014.
How close are the estimates, and how do we really know how good these numbers are?
We really won't know officially until the 2020 census. That's the official head count that the federal government uses. But prior to that, in next year, there'll be an annual estimate update from the Census Bureau. And it's a possibility that we could reach a million in that estimate release. We anticipate, though, definitely with the 2015 release, which may be in March of 2016.
Okay, and with the 62 people per day, which is different from what I opened up with 40 new residents, 62 people total per day, where are they coming from?
So we have two components to population increase. You're here because you were born here or you moved here. And so most of those people are moving here. About 40 out of those 62, almost 2/3 are net migrants. The other 22 are due to what we call natural increase. That means that there are more births than there were deaths. So when we're talking about net migration, about 9 of those 40 people per day are moving here from another county in the state. Another 9 are coming from other countries, and the remainder are coming from other states around the United States, particularly New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, but as far away as California and other places are sending us residents regularly.
Okay, and the quality of education, well documented here in Wake County, whether it's through K through 12 or the Wake Tech or the four-year colleges and universities. Is there any data on the education of Wake's new residents?
Yes, so when you look at new migrants who are 25 or older, 3/4 of them have a bachelor's degree or higher. The ones who are kind of post-high school, not yet 25, a lot of them are moving here to obtain a college degree. So I think one of the most common migrant profiles, if you look at people coming into the county, are 18-year-olds with a high school diploma moving here from another county in North Carolina, likely because they're going to a place like NC State or one of the other universities in the county.
There's another factor too in calculating growth. What is that?
So another factor would be how many people are being born versus how many people are dying. It's called kind of the natural increase. So when you have more births than deaths, it's called natural increase. More deaths than births, it's natural decrease. Wake County has consistently had natural increase for the past 30 years or even longer. That's the most recent data I've been looking at, so I will plead the fifth on prior to that. But that's partly driven by the migrants, because the migrants are very young, and young people are much more likely to have babies and less likely to die than older people. So it's kind of a virtuous cycle of growth. You have people who are moving here, then they're more likely to have children, and both of those factors are driving up Wake County's overall population growth.
So if we keep growing, any idea when Wake County will hit that 2 million mark?
Yes, unofficially, that 2 million mark would be hit in 2054. And that's based on a net average of 25,000 people per year coming into the county, or the natural increase as well. So let's try and see who's going to be here actually to see that 2 millionth person enter into Wake County.
Okay. And before we go, we do want to mention that there's a special section of the county's website devoted to Wake Hits a Million milestone. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, on WakeGOV.com, on our homepage, we still have our population counter up. And since we exceeded reached 1 million in August 22nd, our counter now has us at 1,000,000, about 750 people. And there's clips of both how we use the calculations that we use to reach 1 million, and also the Board of County Commissioners' recognition of that feat on August 18th.
Okay. Sharon Peterson, Long Range Planning Administrator with Wake County Community Services, and Rebecca Tippett, Director of Carolina Demography. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having us.
When we return, we'll share with you an update county commissioners received concerning the county's AAA bond rating. Stay tuned.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
Welcome back. Wake County recently received some great news from 3 of the largest municipal bond rating agencies. Moody's, Standard & Poor's, and Fitch rating agencies once again affirmed the county's AAA rating. Wake County is one of only 42 out of over 3,000 counties in the U.S. rated AAA by all 3 agencies. Joining us to explain what it takes to retain such an honor is Nicole Kreiser, Wake County Debt Manager. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, you're welcome.
Why is the AAA rating so important? We hear it all the time, but I'm not sure many of the citizens understand what a AAA rating really means.
You know, the AAA credit rating is incredibly important to Wake County. A credit rating for the county is like an individual's credit score. The better the score, the lower the interest rate the county has and has to pay on debt that it borrows. Wake County is rated AAA by all 3 major rating agencies: Moody's, Standard & Poor's, and Fitch. The AAA is the highest score available. It allows the county to have the lowest cost of financing available, which provides the lowest cost of debt to the taxpayer. The county currently has $2 billion of debt outstanding. An additional 1% interest cost would be a requirement of an additional $20 million the county would have to pay each year, or an additional 1.58 cents on today's property tax rate. Having the AAA rating allows the county to have lower interest rates, which reduces our interest cost.
Okay. Nicole, what can damage a county's bond rating?
The rating agencies look at several different factors, and there really are some core criteria they look at, and fundamental changes in those criteria could damage a credit rating. For example, if an entity would have more expenditures than revenues, are they dipping into fund balance? Do they use fund balance without a plan to either reduce expenditures or increase revenues? Is the tax base declining? Is it stagnant? In other words, is your tax base not growing? Other things that they look at also is your economic base not varied, or is there things happening in your local economy that may change your ability to raise revenue, etc. You know, our board takes into consideration the AAA credit rating very seriously. In March, as part of the goals the board adopted, the very first goal was to preserve the county's strong financial management practices, and they had adopted an objective, and that objective was to look at the rating agency's new criteria and to amend the county's financial policies and debt guidelines necessary to continue to achieve the AAA credit rating. So the Board of Commissioners this past May adopted revised fund balance policy and debt guidelines, and those revisions and changes show the county's willingness to continue to achieve the AAA rating from all three rating agencies, such that our rating won't be damaged.
Nicole, it appears that, you know, unlike in past evaluations, whether it's done by phone or going up to New York to meet one-on-one, members of these bond rating agencies obviously were impressed with the visit. What were some of their comments, and how long did it take after their visit for them to make the announcement that Wake County had retained its AAA rating?
Well, after our presentations, it took about a week for the rating to be announced. The rating agency analysts have to go to rating committee, and then they release the county's rating, in which our AAA was affirmed by all three rating agencies. We've received really favorable feedback. They enjoyed being able to see Wake County and see how we use bond proceeds and how we are meeting the growth in the area. Standard & Poor's cited the county's strong local economy and very strong reserves. And they also talked about our financial management conditions that were strong and well embedded and likely sustainable. Moody's talked about our varied economic base and robust financial position. Fitch talked about our economic profile and our prudent financial planning.
So it sounds like all three bond rating agencies were very impressed with what they not only saw in the numbers, but what they saw in person in regards of really looking at some of the county resources that we have.
I think the takeaway is, by having our AAA affirmed by all three, that we did what we set out to do, which was to show why Wake County is great and why we take serious consideration issuing debt to meet the growth of our community.
Nicole Kreiser, Wake County Debt Manager, thanks so much for sharing this information with us.
You're welcome.
Carey's Booth Amphitheater offers laid-back, friendly entertainment nestled amongst the hardwoods. America's best performers in a perfect setting. Enjoy cool shade from the pines or your own sunny spot on the grass. Easy to get to, Carey's Booth Amphitheater offers something for everyone under a canopy of stars. For festival, concert, and movie night information, visit boothamphitheater.com. The stage is set. Let us show you to your seats. Carey's Booth Amphitheater. Entertainment naturally.
Wake County recently welcomed its 1 millionth resident, which means that the county continues to burst at the seams with the development of new homes and businesses. One of the commissioner's board goals is to balance controlled growth while preserving open space for residents to enjoy. Commissioners recently received an update on the most recent acquisitions, Robertson's Mill Pond, Turnip Seed Preserve, and Proctor's Farm, which are all located in eastern Wake County. The open space program's goal is to protect the county's water resources while providing natural areas that citizens can enjoy for decades.
Open space can be a lot of different things to a lot of different people. Our program seeks to protect land, preserve land throughout the county for a lot of different reasons. Some of it for passive recreation, others for wildlife habitat and wildlife corridors, scenic views, historical sites and structures. So it can be a lot of different things. Since our program's inception in 2000, we have either bought outright with county dollars or partnered with the local municipalities, state of North Carolina, the federal government on about 120 properties across the county, just over 5,000 acres that have been preserved so far. The benefits of the open space program are multifaceted. I like to hope that there's something for everybody in what we're trying to do in preserving this property for the future. Some of it we hope to open up to the public so they will be able to enjoy it for passive recreation, but it's also protecting the water quality on a lot of our stream corridors. It is protecting wildlife habitat in corridors, which makes Wake County a neater place to live, a nicer place to live, being that we have these green spaces throughout the county, and it's not all one big developed area, but more of a patchwork of green and development that work together. And we really thought, and the county commissioners agreed with us, that it would be good to allow public access to some of this property, not all of it, but some of the property lays out well for public access, and there are interesting features on the properties, stuff that I think people would like to see and be intrigued about. So we selected 3 properties out of the probably 120 that we have either bought or purchased outright, and are going to open those for public access hopefully within the next year. Those 3 properties are the Proctor property, Robertson's Mill Pond, and the Turnip Seed assemblage, which is actually 5 separate properties that were all contiguous. So Robertson's Mill Pond is a really unique habitat for Wake County. It is a habitat that's more reminiscent of eastern North Carolina, a lot of big cypress trees, a lot of black water. So you would think you were down east somewhere paddling, canoeing or kayaking at Robertson's Mill Pond. So that's why that particular property was chosen. Proctor property is one of the biggest properties that we own. When we purchased it, it was the single biggest acquisition we had ever done at almost 600 acres. And so we're really looking at Proctor for equestrian trails. There's active farming going on there. We have an agricultural lease on the property that's been in place since we purchased it. And so we would like to use some of the farm roads that are already existing. So we're not going in and cutting a lot of trails and doing a lot of development at these places, but we are wanting to open them up to the public. Turnip Seed, which is the last property, or the assemblage of 5 properties, lays out really well to hiking. There's a lot of different habitats. There's big rock outcrops. There's a lot of riparian, beaver ponds, and so there's a lot of wetland areas that are kind of cool. So I think people will really get a kick out of walking around, hiking around there. So there's a lot of different reasons for wanting to open these properties to the public, but I think the 2 that come probably to the top really quickly is, first off, that people want to get outside, want to enjoy the natural beauty that's Wake County, and we're just affording them another place, a different place to do that. We're very lucky in this area that there are a lot of parks and greenways for people to enjoy, and these are just going to be more offerings, more opportunities to get outside. The other thing I think is important to mention is that the citizens of Wake County have made a significant investment in all of this land. Since 2000, the citizens of Wake County have approved 3 bond referenda totaling $91 million that has allowed us to buy this land. And so I think it's important for the citizens to get back some of that investment, and opening up these properties and getting them out there and able to enjoy them is part of that.
Staring contest! still got it. I know.
Come alive with the forest. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a forest near you.
Welcome back. The Board of Commissioners recently proclaimed August as recipients of the Purple Heart Recognition Month in Wake County. The Purple Heart is awarded to those who have been wounded and or killed while serving in the U.S. military against opposing armed forces. Also this month, Wake County will host the 2014 Capital Area Veterans Stand Down at the South Wilmington Street Shelter. Joining us to talk about the honor, the Purple Heart honor, and the stand down is Dougie Johnson, Director of Wake County Veteran Services. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Eric.
First, Dougie, can you tell us a little about the services offered by those in the Veteran Services Office?
Absolutely. I have a staff of 4, including myself. I have a full-time Veteran Services Officer, we've got a part-time Veteran Services Officer, and I have a full-time assistant. And we help veterans and their families navigate the wide spectrum of VA benefits that are available. The most sought after these days are VA compensation and or pension, which are 2 different disability programs. And then you have VA healthcare and VA education. Those would be the main benefits. And depending upon your disability status, there are different bells and whistles that a veteran may be able to take advantage of.
And the good part about this as well is, like yourself, there are veterans that are actually part of the staff.
That is exactly right. That is part of our motto, our slogan. We are an office of veterans serving veterans. It's easier, I think it's easier for veterans to kind of let down their guard and to establish a better rapport with someone that's sitting across the desk that pretty much been there, done that, just like they did. They can relate firsthand. They feel a little bit more comfortable, and so it's a huge advantage. That's not to say that a non-veteran couldn't provide, excellent service. There are many wonderful, excellent veteran services officers throughout the state who didn't serve in the military. You have to have a love for veterans, and we certainly have that.
Yeah, and of course, how large is this, the active service and veteran population in Wake County? Folks will be quite amazed.
Well, there aren't many active duty personnel in the Raleigh area. The main military hubs here in the state are Camp Lejeune, Cherry Point, you have Fort Bragg, you have Seymour Johnson, and you have Pope Air Base. So, you may have, there's a reserve station, you may have some full-time active duty people, same with the other, there's like 2 or 3 reserve stations here in the area. So I don't have a raw number on active duty personnel, but recently, within the last year, Wake County has surpassed Mecklenburg County as having the most veterans in the state of North Carolina. We have over 58,000 here in Wake County.
Wow. As mentioned earlier, Wake County received a distinction being named a Purple Heart County. Yes. What does that mean?
It means that Wake County is supportive of veterans of the military, and specifically the wounded veterans, veterans that actually shed blood, in a conflict, is a big deal. So I was proud to introduce members of the Military Order of Purple Hearts during one of the more recent Board of Commissioner meetings. And it was huge. I had goosebumps the entire time, because I don't care what one's politics are. It's kind of hard to not support the troop that's on the ground, especially someone that's kind of shed blood and everything. You kind of have to feel a little warm and fuzzy about that. So yes, Wake County is a supporter of the Purple Heart, and we proclaim August 2014 Purple Heart Month.
And changing just a little bit, Wake County will host the annual Capital Area Veterans Stand Down.
Yes, sir.
At South Wilmington Street Shelter. I've been to a number of those and always amazed. Can you share with us some of the services that will be offered, and why is this event so important to serving the veterans here in our community?
Absolutely. Well, let me just start by giving you a brief history of how the stand downs came into existence. Back in the Vietnam conflict, the guys would come in from out of the field and they'd be banged up, and some of them be stressed out. And so the stand down was created back then to kind of give the guys a day or two of wellness, of rest, put them in touch with resources that were going to help them get back into the fight. The same logic applies with our capital area stand down. It's more geared towards the homeless veterans, but there will be services for all veterans. I'll be there. I'll be there to provide information about all relevant VA benefits and to tell people where my office is located. The VA will be out there. The healthcare folks will be there, signing people up, enrolling them into the healthcare system. They're going to be haircuts. They're going to have dentists out there. Legal aid will be out there with us. In other words, anything that you can think of to make a homeless veteran more self-sufficient, to kind of bring them into the fold, will be available. There will be jobs out there as well. And that's where some of the non-homeless vets, they can take advantage of some of those resources.
Okay. And how can veterans find out more information about the assistance offered at Wake County Veteran Services?
We have a link at WakeGOV.com. If you did a search on that particular webpage for veteran services, my page will come right up. We're available from 8:30 to 5:15, Monday through Friday. We're at the Eastern Regional Centers, the county's regional centers once per month. We're at the South on the second Wednesday, the East out in Zebulon on the third, and we're at the North on the fourth Wednesdays of each month. We're not hard to find, and it would be our absolute pleasure to help with the benefits. In addition to, kind of superficially filling out the applications, which just about anybody can do if you can read from left to right and up and down the page, we oftentimes serve as referees, to offer perspective to a veteran when it's not appropriate to maybe move forward with the claim, per the VA's qualifying criteria. And sometimes we have to call foul on the VA if they inexplicably deny something that a veteran should have rated. So, that we're like the in-house VA claims people, and we're here to help, and it would be our absolute pleasure. If anybody within earshot of this broadcast, if they feel they have a dog in the fight, all they need to do is reach out, and we'll be glad to help them out.
Dougie Johnson, Director of Wake County Veteran Services, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, Eric, for having me. It's been wonderful.
Keep up with the latest Wake County news by visiting us online at the new WakeGOV.com/news or on Facebook or Twitter. That's our show for today. Thanks for watching.